Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottarashata Śrī Śukadeva Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottarashata Śrī Śukadeva Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Avro, can you bring the table and the book, please? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th Canto, Chapter 3, Text 1. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Śrī Badarayānir Uvacha Evam Vyavasito Buddhya Samadaya Mano Hridhi Japa Paramam Japyam Prag Janmani Anushikshitam Śrī Badarayānir Uvacha Evam Vyavasito Buddhya Samadaya Manohridhi Japa Paramam Japyam Pragjanman Yanushikshitam Śrī Badarāyaniruvaca Evam Vyavaviso Buddhya Samadhaya Manohridi Japa Paramam Japyam Pragjanmanyanushikshitam Śrī Badarāyaniruvaca Evam Vyavasito Buddhya Samadhaya Manohridi Japa Paramam Japyam Pragjanmanyanušikshitam. Okay, please chant. Okay, word by word. Śrī Badarāyaniruvaca. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, Evam, thus, Vyavasitaha, fixed, Buddhya, by intelligence, Samadhaya, for concentration, Manaha, the mind, Hridi, in consciousness or in the heart, Japa, he chanted, Paramam, a supreme, Japyam, mantra he had learned from great devotees, Prakjanmani, in his previous birth, Anušikshitam, practiced. Okay, so Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī continued. Thereafter, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind and his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradyumna, and which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. So we'll read the summary of the chapter. It's a new chapter today. And then we'll read the purport. So here's the summary. In this chapter, the prayers of Gajendra, the king of the elephants, are described. It appears that the king of the elephants was formerly a human being, known as Indradyumna, and that he learned a prayer to the Supreme Lord. Fortunately, he remembered that prayer and began to chant it to himself. First, he offered his respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and because of his awkward position, having been attacked by the crocodile, he expressed his inability to recite prayers nicely. Nonetheless, he tried to chant the mantra and expressed himself in appropriate words as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes, the original person from whom everything was emanated. He is the root cause of this cosmic manifestation, and the entire cosmos rests in him. Yet he is transcendental, for he does everything in relation to the material world through his external energy. He is eternally situated in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan, where he engages in his eternal pastimes. The material world is a product of his external energy or material nature, which works under his direction. It is thus that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place. The Lord exists at all times. This is extremely difficult for a non-devotee to understand. Although the Transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead is perceivable by everyone, only the pure devotees perceive his presence and activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely free from material birth, death, old age, and disease. Indeed, if anyone in this material world takes shelter of him, he also becomes situated in that transcendental position. For the satisfaction of the devotee, Pritranayu Sadhunam, the Lord appears and exhibits his activities. His appearance, disappearance, and other pastimes are not at all material. One who knows this secret can enter the kingdom of God. In the Lord, all opposing elements are adjusted. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. He is the controller of everything. He is the witness of all activities, and he is the original source of all living entities. Indeed, all living entities are parts of him. Chandra, can you pass the mic to Uli? Can you look this up on your phone? Chapter 3, Canto 8, Chapter 3. The Lord can observe the activities of our senses which can work and achieve material results because of his mercy. Although he is the original source of everything, he is untouched by any of his byproducts. In this way, he is like a gold mine, which is the source of gold and ornaments, and yet is different from the ornaments themselves. The Lord is worshipped by the method prescribed in the Pancharatras. He is the source of our knowledge, and he can give us liberation. Therefore, it is our duty to understand them according to the instructions of devotees, in particular the spiritual master. Although, for us, the mode of goodness is covered by following the instructions of saintly persons and the spiritual master, we can be freed from material clutches. Did you find it?
Chapter 3?
Yeah. The summary study. This is the beginning. Maybe yours doesn't have that. It's before text 1. Uli or Matthias found it? Okay, you could read his. So we're at the last two paragraphs. The last two paragraphs, the second to last one starts the self-effulgent material form. So if you could just read till you finish.
The self-effulgent material form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is adored by non-devotees. His impersonal form is adored by those advanced in spiritual knowledge, and his feature as the localized supersoul is appreciated by yogis. But his original form as a person is understood only by devotees. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is competent to dissipate the darkness of the conditioned soul through his instructions in Bhagavad Gita. He is the ocean of transcendental qualities and can be understood only by liberated persons freed from the bodily concept of life. By his causeless mercy, the Lord can rescue the conditioned soul from the material clutches and enable him to return home, back to Godhead, to become his personal associate. Nonetheless, a pure devotee does not aspire to go back to Godhead. He is simply satisfied with executing his service in this material world. A pure devotee does not ask anything from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His only prayer is to be freed from the material conception of life and to be engaged in the Lord's transcendental loving service. In this way, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, offered prayers directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without mistaking him for one of the demigods. None of the demigods came to see him, not even Brahma or Shiva. Rather, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, seated on Garuda, personally appeared before him. Gajendra by lifting his trunk, offered obeisances to the Lord, and the Lord immediately pulled him from the water along with the crocodile who had captured his leg. Then the Lord killed the crocodile and thus rescued Gajendra.
Can you pass it to Aviro now, the mic? All right, so that's the chapter summary. Now we'll read the... Here's the verse, and then Aviro will start the purport. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī continued, Thereafter the king of the elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind and his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradyumna, in which he remembered by the grace of Krishna.
Such remembrance is described in Bhagavad Gita 6.43 to 6.44. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labhyate paurava dekhikam yatate cha tato bhuya samsiddhu kuru nandana puru bhyasya sena tenaiva hridayate hi avaso pi saha. In these verses, it is assured that even if a person engaged in devotional service falls down, he is not degraded, but is placed in a position in which he will, in due course of time, remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained later, Gajendra was formerly King Indradyumna, and somehow or other in his next life he became king of the elephants. Now Gajendra was in danger, and although he was in a body other than that of a human being, he remembered the stotra he had chanted in his previous life. Yatate cha tato bhuya samsiddhu kuru nandana. To enable one to achieve perfection, Krishna gives one the chance to remember him again. This is proved here, for although the king of the elephants, Gajendra, was put in danger, this was a chance for him to remember his previous devotional activities, and he could immediately be rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, Matthias could read the rest.
It is imperative, therefore, that all devotees in Krishna consciousness practice chanting some mantra. Certainly, one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is a Maha Mantra or a great mantra. And also, one should practice chanting Chintamani Prakarsadamsu or the Nishinga Sutra, Ito Nishingo, Prato Nishingo, Yato Yato Yami, Tato Nishinga. Every devotee should practice in order to chant some mantra perfectly, so that even though he may be imperfect in spiritual consciousness in this life, in his next life he will not forget Krishna consciousness. Even if he becomes an animal, of course, a devotee should try to perfect his Krishna consciousness in his life, for simply by understanding Krishna and his instructions. After giving up this body, one can return home, back to Godhead. Even if there is some foul done, practice of Krishna consciousness never goes in vain. For example, Ajamil in his boyhood practiced chanting the name of Narayan under the direction of his father, but later, in his youth, he fell down and became a drunkard, woman hunter, rogue, and thief. Nonetheless, because of chanting the name of Narayan for the purpose of calling his son, who he had named Narayan, he became advanced, even though he was involved in sinful activities. Therefore, we should not forget the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra under any circumstances. It will help us in the greatest danger, as we will find in the life of Gajendra.
Om Jnanatimanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvandalitam Mena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangamangayate Girim Yak Kripatamaham Vande Śrī Gurundinitaranam Vancha Kablirubhishta Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Śrī Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'd like to welcome Daniel. He's visiting from Santa Rosa, and our old friend Yudhishthir. He's friends with our old friend Yudhishthir, so they're up there together. So, yeah, big Yudi. So he's up there in Santa Rosa as well. So Daniel will be here for about 10 days, right? About 10 days. Okay, so he'll be here for about 10 days, and then shortly after that he'll be taking a trip to London, Bhaktivedanta Manor, and off to India, all for the first time. So these are all first time. So anyways, we hope you have a nice time here. Welcome. So yeah, we're continuing this pastime of Gajendra. Gajendra, as we were mentioned the other day, it's an extraordinary circumstance. There's a battle between, or a fight between Gajendra, the elephant, and the crocodile, and it's been going on for 1,000 years. It's pretty extraordinary. And elephant is not a normal elephant, it's an elephant who speaks, and he also prays. He's praying to Krishna. So here, this particular chapter, we will be discussing his prayers to Krishna. And today, let's see. No, tomorrow. Tomorrow we will start his actual prayers. But today, the verse is saying that the king of elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind and his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradyumna, in which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. So, in his previous birth, as Indradyumna, he was a devotee, but obviously he didn't attain perfection. And under this circumstance, he took birth as an animal, as Gajendra. Generally, when we talk about making advancement in Krishna consciousness and progressing in Krishna consciousness, there's a general understanding that a devotee means a soul in the human form. The understanding is that they will not take an animal form again. But we see that sometimes it's the case, just like Gajendra. He was Indradyumna, and then he became Gajendra. Similarly, in the fifth canto, you have Bharat Maharaj, who was on a very high platform of Krishna consciousness, and he, in his next life, accepted the body of a deer. He was meditating on Krishna. He was absorbed in his loving relationship with Krishna on the platform of bhava, very high platform. And somehow or other there was this, he adopted this baby deer, right? Very cute baby deer. And he became distracted, extremely distracted. He forgot about his spiritual practices, and you could say he fell into illusion. And while he was dying, instead of thinking of Krishna, instead of calling out to Krishna, he thought of this baby deer, his pet, and then therefore he took corresponding birth. Of course, it doesn't stop there. He's now in the form of a deer, but he remembers his past life. So he's not associating with the other deer, because he doesn't want to be in that consciousness. So he's spending a lot of time by the ashram. He's hearing the kirtans. He's hearing the Bhagavatam classes. He's taking prasadam, staying away from bad association with the other deer. And then he dies, the body expires, and then he becomes Jad Bharat. And Jad Bharat, Jad means like dull, inert, yeah, like a stone. So he's extremely intelligent. Jad Bharat is extremely intelligent, but he's acting like he's not intelligent. He's pretty much putting on a show. He's putting on a show so he doesn't get dragged in to any worldly activities. So, for example, his father's trying to train him. We're going to have a Vaishnava etiquette course tomorrow, Sunday, 3:30. So his father's trying to train him, Vaishnava etiquette, Brahminical culture, so on. And so his father teaches him, okay, the Brahmins, they have a thread, and then you wrap it around your ear, and then you go use the bathroom. It's this way the thread's kept pure. So what he would do is he would just use the bathroom, and then he would come out, and then he would wrap it around his ear, afterwards. So like this, he was doing everything just wrong on purpose. And it's a whole pastime in the 5th canto. But eventually he attains perfection as Jad Bharat, spiritual perfection. So we see that there's a case of Bharat Maharaj. You have Gajendra here. He was Indradyumna, and now he's Gajendra, and now he's offering his prayers because he's in this difficult circumstance. A crocodile is trying to kill him. They're battling for many years. So eventually he prays to Krishna, and Krishna comes. There's a beautiful picture of that, of a painting, where Gajendra he's lifting his trunk up, and he has a lotus flower. He's offering it to Krishna, and the crocodile's biting his leg. And then Vishnu's there specifically on Garuda. He comes to save his devotee. Kills the crocodile and liberates the crocodile and liberates Gajendra. So we see that sometimes progress is over many lifetimes. Now, of course, we are all at a particular stage in our awakening our Krishna consciousness, but the idea is to complete the course or to not fall down again, fall into illusion. And falling into illusion, because there's different ways to fall into illusion. There's gross illusion, like Ajamil's being brought up here. Ajamil fell into gross illusion. He was a young man, not so young, he was married, relatively young, to a chaste wife, to a wife who was very devoted to him, and cultured, devoted wife. And he had his loving parents there, and he had his Brahminical culture, very nice, pleasant culture he was following. But then he was going out to collect firewood for his guru, and he went out and he saw 2 low-class people, a woman and a man, they're embracing. And he felt lust awakened in his heart, and he couldn't control himself, as we were discussing the other day. So he actually found this woman, and he invited her to his house as a maidservant. He was feeling lust towards her, and he said, "You could come and be a maidservant at my house." So the wife was there, his parents were there, so they were both there, and eventually he told his wife to leave, and he told his old parents to leave. This is just like nowadays, people are like, oh, it's kind of normal, not normal, but it's kind of commonplace stories, right? Happens all the time, kind of sounds like my uncle or something like that, but in traditional civilization, it's just like so unheard of, just so wrong, just so like low, to invite some woman and then just, ask your wife to leave, ask your parents to leave. That's like a really bad one in traditional civilization. It's like really low. You're supposed to take care of the parents and so on. So you can imagine how much lust just conquered him. completely conquered him. And then he just lived a very degraded life. He gave up his Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada says here, he became a drunkard, just drinking, and a woman hunter, and a rogue. Rogue is like a criminal type and a thief. So he just became really fallen, like grossly fallen. And somehow or other, due to his training in his previous life, he was still naming his children devotional names, Vishnu, Krishna, Narayan. So he named one of his sons Narayan. This was his youngest son. And granted, he was 80 years old. Still having children at 80 years old. So he had this young son, Narayan. So then, towards the end of his life, he's lying there on his deathbed, about to die. And the Bhagavatam explains that, graphic explanations, how for someone who is acting against the laws of nature, acting against the laws of God, grossly sinful, those people have to be punished. And of course, unlike much of the understanding of majority of people in Abrahamic religions that hell is eternal, hell is temporary from the Bhagavatam's perspective. But still, there's hellish worlds. There's not just one hell, there's a number of them. It's extremely graphic, actually. We went through it, some cantos ago, 5th canto. You have nightmares after reading that. There's one devotee in his office, I remember this, because there's devotees actually, they drew paintings of hell, according to the Bhagavatam, and it was really intense paintings. The different punishments and everything. So this devotee, he would keep it in his office, this picture of hell. And they asked him, why you keep it in the office? I was like, well, it kind of keeps me on track. I should be serious in my Krishna consciousness. Anyways, that was his thing. I don't necessarily recommend that for everybody, but he was there lying in his deathbed, and according to the Bhagavatam, personalities that are called Yamadutas, they come. Yamadutas. And they're the servants of Yamaraj. Yamaraj is a great devotee. It's a difficult service he has. He's a great devotee. He's like the judge. He's the one who decides what type of punishments people get. So Yamadutas, they go pick souls up for him. So the Jama's lying there, and all of a sudden these Yamadutas come. And you can imagine how scared he is. Because these people, these personalities are, they'll strike fear in anybody's heart. The worst of gangsters, they'll frighten them. They'll frighten everyone. So Ajamal, he was there, and then somehow or other he just called out to his son, Narayan, Narayan. He called out to his son. He wasn't really calling out to Krishna, but he was calling out to his son, although there was some faint remembrance. And then, as soon as he called out he called the son's name Narayan, then immediately the Vishnu Dutas came. Those are personalities who take people to the spiritual world. So the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamadutas that were there, it's actually very interesting. I hear this. You don't hear much about this aside from Ajamal's pastime, but they're both there, and he was lying there. So they're having a discussion: who is going to take this soul? Because Yamadutas are saying he's sinful. He broke all the rules. We're taking him for temporary punishment. He'll get more chances in the future, but we're taking him. He has to go. And the Vishnu Dutas are saying no. He chanted the name of Narayan. So they're going back and forth like that. So eventually, The Yamadutas, they speak with Yamaraj and so on, and then they give him another chance. He doesn't attain perfection at that point. They give him another chance, and then he attains perfection. So it's the demonstrating the power of the holy name. So we don't want to fall into gross illusion. We don't want to fall into subtle illusion also. There's subtle illusion, like, for example, a subtle illusion people may fall into is to become overly absorbed in the world, the outside world. It's of course, we may to a degree, but to be overly absorbed in the outside world. I mean, what's going on? It's a way to capture people's mind and to take it off of God, to put it onto this world and to remove it from God. So this is a subtle illusion. Or, for example, sometimes things they develop in a person that within all religions they say, okay, you should love your neighbor or love the people close to you. But it's interesting, sometimes as religious people, they, because they're fallen into illusion, they tend to find faults in those surrounding them and actually hate them to a degree, like heavily dislike them. And then they pour all their love out to the people they just don't know. Like they're sending their love here and there or wherever. Whereas the proper thing is to love people around us, and also we could extend that, but not vice versa. So there are so many ways. We're not going to go into them because we'll be here for many hours talking about how many ways grossly fall into illusion or subtly fall into illusion. But there's a lot. There's a lot of different ways. And therefore, we have to know, it is very important to know how illusion works. How does it operate? How does it control people? How does it control me? What are all the traps of illusion? And we should understand that there's Krishna there, and just like we'll be standing in the sun soon, the sunny San Diego. It's a good place to be in the winter, San Diego. We'll be standing there in the sun. Matthias will be standing in the sun, right? And then we'll see his shadow. So similarly, wherever Krishna is, the shadow is there also. Maya. Illusion. So in other words, we don't have to call illusion. Illusion's always there. So we should understand how illusion works and understand that illusion's always there. And it doesn't matter if you've been around for 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, 500 years. In the material world, illusion's always there, and she's always trying to break the devotee. Of course, it sounds a little scary, right? But if we understand how illusion works, if we understand that illusion's always there, if we understand how illusion works, we'll be able to, if we follow the process properly, we'll be able to protect ourselves. And we will not fall into gross illusion, we will not fall into subtle illusion, and gradually we'll make perfection. We will attain perfection. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that it's very important to practice chanting a particular mantra that will help us later in the future. It will help us now, it will help us later. And hopefully we don't have to get ourselves into very difficult circumstances before we take shelter of a particular mantra, specifically the Hare Krishna mantra. So does anybody have any question, comment? Yes, Virchandra.
Thank you for the class.
You're welcome.
You told that we should understand that illusion all time here, and also we should understand how it works. Maybe.
Yeah.
Can you explain it?
How it works?
What we should understand?
Yeah. All right. What's some example? Yeah, an example how illusion works is for example, we hear all the time the glories of the holy name of Krishna. We just heard a little bit from a Jamal. I mean, that's pretty glorious, right? He just chanted Narayan and he was saved from Yamadutas. I mean, pretty good. I mean, who wants to hang out with those guys, right? Yamadutas. Just torture people, actually. So he was saved from them. So it's a glorious, I mean, it's powerful. The holy name is powerful. We hear that by chanting the holy name, all the sinful reactions, they just fly up like birds. You know, when you clap, you know, birds will fly up. So similarly, you chant Hare Krishna, they just fly away. And even more than that, even the sinful inclinations, because one thing is sinful reactions. We have done some sinful activity against the laws of God, against the laws of nature, and now we're suffering for it. Okay, so Krishna consciousness will remove that, but it also removes the inclination to engage in that activity again. It's very powerful. Not so easy, you know, these things, to accomplish these things. But the holy name does that. It's powerful. So we hear all of that, but then we may engage in chanting imperfectly. For example, we're at Walmart or something, and you know, got our hand in our bead bag. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Yeah, it's like $5 off. You know, all right, Hare Krishna. I stopped by Krishna's mercy. I don't go to those places. Thank God. I vow not to go to those places anymore. You know, Walmart and Target, just finished. Finito. But I remember one time I went there, and then this couple that were there, and then she said, "Oh, look, babe, it's $10 off." You know, I was like, "What? I mean, you're so excited! It's Walmart." You know, it's like, of course, things would be $10 off. Everything's cheap there. Anyways, but chanting there, while shopping, for example, what does that do? That, of course, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. One should chant all the time, 24 hours a day. So it's good to chant at Walmart, wherever you are. Chant, right? Chant as much as possible. But in terms of one's prescribed rounds, chanting of prescribed rounds, whether they be 2, 4, 6, 16, the prescribed rounds should be done in like a very serious way. You know, sitting straight and pronouncing properly and not doing anything else, just focusing on the sound, focusing on some imagery of Krishna in a peaceful place, no distractions, quiet. It's called a sacred space. That's the best way to get the best result, to actually experience the power of the holy name in a quick way. But illusion may be there that, hey, I've been chanting, you know, it's like chanting at Walmart and been chanting at, you know, I'm doing skydiving, I've been chanting my rounds, or, you know, jumping out of a plane, you know, skydiving. I've been chanting, doesn't seem like really getting the result. So then it may even go further, that people may think, oh, this is definitely a hallucination, this chanting. This is an offense to the holy name. I think it's the 6th one or something. I forgot which number, but it says to consider the chanting of the holy names of the Lord to be an imagination. So that means to not have faith in chanting. That not having faith, this is an atheistic tendency that people who have don't believe in God, they don't have faith in chanting. Why should they? They don't believe in God. But devotees can also develop that, and they do develop that sometimes. They lose faith in chanting because they're not doing it properly. And then in some really bad cases, they just say this is a real hallucination, and take my bead bag and but throw it away. Or maybe if you're cultured, you leave all your bead bag and your box of books and your deities and your mridanga in the lobby. Renounce Krishna consciousness in a cultured way. So it's an example how illusion works, that, hey, don't do it seriously, just come on. You could do everything else seriously, like sense gratification and working hard and everything else. Do all that very seriously, but just don't chant seriously. And then based on not chanting seriously, we don't get the proper results. And then we may think it's a imagination. And then people get on the internet, and they go, yeah, it was part of the Hare Krishnas, and it's so many rules and regulations, you can't do this, you can't do that, and no eggs. Hey, I love eggs, no this, no that, no kombucha. God, and you write some articles on how it's all bogus and everything, but I mean, as far as I've seen in terms of a comprehensive religious, comprehensive philosophical knowledge of the absolute truth, Krishna, the spiritual, the whole thing, existence, how to live in a peaceful, happy way. It's so comprehensive, and the practice is, so wonderful. So, so that's one example. And like I said, we could just keep on going on and on and on and on and on for many examples. How, or sometimes we'll do one more just for fun. Or for example, there's an injunction. It says that one shouldn't associate with non-devotees. People take that as fanatical. They think, oh, what's like, you guys are so good, you're so cool, you're so spiritual, you can't associate with ordinary people or regular people or normal people. Like, what's wrong with you guys? Typical kind of cultish thing. That's what people think. It's fanatical. And I have to explain how it's not. If you're trying to attain a particular goal and the people around you have no appreciation, no faith, or let's say if you love someone greatly, like God or Krishna, and you're associating with people who just aren't really interested, don't like, and are actually, based on their activities and based on their general mindset, you just dig a little bit into their consciousness, and more or less they're against, Krishna consciousness. They're worldly people. So to associate with such people who are, critical, directly or indirectly of the process of Krishna consciousness, is not helpful, and doesn't and won't help one get closer to the goal. So illusion may come and say, hey, this is fanatical, just associate. What's your problem? don't be a fanatic. Just associate, you know. But the problem with that, again, what happens? And actually, I shouldn't even say rare circumstances. It happens all the time. Like we read about a jama and we act like it's, oh, that's like so rare, you know, like hardly ever happens. It happens all the time. I mean, I know plenty of devotees who that happened to. I could list dozens. So what happens is you just associate with them and then you just get caught. It's like a net. You just get caught in the net of Maya. And this isn't a way to like, oh, let's just keep everybody in our group or something. It's a way for people who are serious to attain perfection, for people who are serious to love Krishna. It's a way to protect themselves and to benefit themselves, protect themselves from illusion. You know, just stay your distance. Be respectful, be kind, be cordial, be cultured, be friendly. Devotees friendly to everyone. But close association, you know, we closely associate with the devotees. Or else closely associate with worldly people, and before you know it, you're a worldly person. So that's another example. All right, so we're going a little late. Association. I mean, again, devotees are friendly. When Srila Prabhupada was walking in London, he would say, oh, good morning, you know, to the people. And Srila Prabhupada was talking with so many people. Devotees naturally friendly. So association would mean that, hey, if you ask them, like, what's your advice? How should I be living? How should I be thinking? A worldly person that. And they give you bad advice. You know, that's an example. Associate with people by reading their books, worldly people's books, or talking with them. We're taking their ideas from them. They're changing us for the worse. You know, becoming worldly. All right, we'll stop there. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.